So up next, we'll have Brenda Miller from Ohio County speaking. Kim had to leave unexpectedly, so this probably won't be the full hour, which I hope gets us to lunch faster because I'm starving. Okay.
Should have had 4 of those donuts out.
Yeah, there's no shortage of candy, I can assure you. Okay, there we go, Brenda Miller.
Okay, because this laptop is here doesn't mean I'm doing that screen, right? We can leave that up there for now. Okay. This presentation is going to be different all the way around. First, you can hear my voice. This is not normal. Second, it's Kim from Hardy County and myself. Kim's not here. So it's about a couple things, different type things that actually will lap over. So I'm going to touch on a little bit of what Kim has, and then I'm going to go into the mass litigation that I have. I talked with Kim last night, and Hardy County was asked a couple years ago to do a pilot program for the Supreme Court of e-filing. Now, she used it strictly for abuse and neglect cases. We know how much massive paperwork's in our abuse and neglect cases, how many attorneys are involved, the time it takes to get everybody served, copies made of all the orders, and, you know, getting those out to all the attorneys. So they came up with an e-filing system called Casebook. So she's used it for 2 years in conjunction with doing everything manually, just to make sure all the numbers match, everything was verified. So I have no idea how many abuse and neglect cases she has in her counties, but everybody knows how many you have in your county. And she was asked to handle Casebook and do it parallel to paper filings. So for the last 2 years, she's done double work, but she was able to put through all of her abuse and neglect cases just like she would normally with all of the paperwork that we do every day. But she also did everything under the Casebook management system for e-filing. So all of her judges had access to the information, DHHR, all of the attorneys that were associated with the abuse and neglect cases had access. She did not have to mail or put in mailboxes or anything the orders and stuff, because they were automatically served once they were entered on this Casebook system. So with talking to her last night, she said there is a little bit of a learning curve because it was something new for her county. So, but she said it didn't take that long to realize the system would, if she was operating it solely, would be fabulous, and the time savings that they would have seen. But considering she had to make sure the program worked and she was asked to run it in conjunction with doing things manually, it took a little more time because she was doing both. But in the long run, that if she would change it out and just use that Casebook as e-filings, she said the time savings would have been huge for her staff to be able to process everything. An attorney comes down, the only thing they do, they bring their own orders if they want them attested with the raised seal. That's it. Everything else was stamped. They'd have access 24/7. It was there for them. So she says this program will phase out, of course, once e-filing comes in. So she'll switch over to OLIS for e-filing. So she was very happy with the program, said it was very successful, and they will continue with that until their county switches over. So that's all I know about Kim's talk. So that's it in a nutshell, okay? Mine is on mass litigation e-filing. You have 3 counties in the state that handles mass litigation. Of course, Kanawha County, Ohio County, and Raleigh County. So Kathy Gatson and Paul Flanagan, as well as myself. My mass litigation started in 2000 with the tobacco cases. Currently, we have over half a dozen mass litigation cases. We have asbestos, we have float sink, flood, Mingo County coal slurry, Mountain State University, tobacco, and University Commons. Those are all of our mass litigation cases, and they are divided out probably not equally, as Kathy would know with all of these asbestos filings, but amongst the 3 counties that handles the mass litigation for the state. We do now have e-filing on all of that. And Kathy, did we have our 5-year anniversary with Kanawha up and running just a couple weeks ago? 6 years. 6 years for e-filing. Now, when this started, we didn't have e-filing. So think about it. A case is referred to the mass litigation panel first. It's approved by the Supreme Court if it gets to become a mass litigation case. Then all of you clerks get an order stating this case is now going to be a mass litigation case. You have all of these cases, box them up, list them, and send them on to the clerk in the other county that's going to handle the mass litigation cases. So let me just give you a brief scenario of what happens in a county that has mass litigation. Now, everyone's courthouse, you're tight on space. You are extremely thrilled to get rid of however many cases you have. You box them up, and you're sending however many banker's boxes to the county that's assigned the mass litigation case. Here I am in Ohio County. Here comes all these banker's boxes. Come on in. I don't have the space for this. What am I supposed to do with all of these? All of these cases are numbered from other counties across the state. Am I supposed to take them in, put them into my system? I can't use your case number because it would conflict with mine. Do I have to assign all new case numbers? There's no filing fees because the originating county got the filing fees. So when we started this, those were all questions that had to be answered. What do you do? Now, we've got a couple hundred boxes, banker's boxes, sitting right there in my office. I don't have any more space than you do. What am I supposed to do with a couple hundred boxes, banker's boxes, of cases from all across the state of West Virginia, and how do I keep track of all that? So before you send anything to another county, the thought would be, think about that receiving clerk. What if it was you? How would you want those files to look? What would you want to know when you send them on? Wouldn't it be nice to have a docket sheet in the front of each file, so that way we knew exactly what was in each case? Wouldn't it be nice to have them in chronological order? Wouldn't it be nice to have a listing of every case you sent in chronological order by case number and style? Because that's not how I get them. But wouldn't it be nice? So think about that before you pack up boxes and send to another county. They're going to get 100, 50, 200 boxes in their office. First, I don't have the space for it. Second, I'm counting on you. I didn't ask for this. I'm counting on you as clerks to help us. each other out. I'm sure Kathy and Paul will say the same things. If you get boxes in of just boxes and boxes of files, and there's no assistance, no case numbers, no docket sheets, nothing, how do you account for those cases? And what happens when it goes into settlement and the judge might want to see one of your, well, give me that Mingo County case with this plaintiff. Seriously, okay. So hopefully these boxes are labeled well enough that I can go down into a file room or the attic or the basement or down the hall or in an off-site location where my boxes are and find one case sitting there. So when I open that lid, I certainly hope it lists all the cases in that box. I certainly hope they're in chronological order. I certainly hope before you send it out to me, if there's 50 items on the docket, there's 50 items in the file. That doesn't happen every time. So I think part of what I'm trying to not preach but state is we as clerks really need to help each other, because the counties that are asked to do pilot programs, I can guarantee you it's not the clerk saying, I'll take that, let me do that. It's the judges that are assigned to the panel, the mass litigation panel. That's how we get the cases. You know? We're the ones that have to clerk them. That's time consuming. So when you think about sending stuff, packing it up and sending it to another county, think about me today and saying, what if you got 100 boxes in your office? How would you want them to come to you? So before you send them to me, to Kathy or to Paul, please think of that, because that would be so much more helpful to all of us. Because I think we've all gone through the nightmare of here's a box. Papers aren't even attached in the files. They're just thrown there. There's not a docket sheet. I have no idea what's in each of these files. They're not in there chronologically. I have no idea how many years, what the case numbers are, who the plaintiffs are, what's the style of the case. I have no idea. But now I'm responsible for that. So those are just a few things to think about with mass litigation. You guys can breathe a sigh of relief if you don't have it. But think about when you pack them up and send them about the clerks that do have them. Because it should make a lot of difference in how we get them. Should. So, I can tell you right now, when we started tobacco mass litigation back in 2000, it was prior to e-filing. I have your files from across the whole state, file cabinets, 4 high, all these drawers, the extra deep ones. I have about a half a dozen of those that have nothing but tobacco cases in them for me. Now, we started this without e-filing. So to start this in 2000, I probably have 100 boxes of paper easily still sitting in my office of court hearing after hearing, discovery, all types of things. Probably about 100 boxes just for this one case. Plus my file cabinets full with your cases. So that's how we have to deal with them individually, and then all the paperwork that comes in for filing on this. And when you're dealing with 50 attorneys at least, every time you have a hearing, they'll have the whole gallery is full of attorneys. It's nothing but attorneys everywhere. So when you have to deal with all of them, as well as your normal day-to-day stuff, can get quite overwhelming. So that's one mass litigation case. You know, so a couple years goes by. Now we get the e-filing for mass litigation. Hallelujah. Because now everything's done online, over the web. We had started it with LexisNexis. So now it gets filed through LexisNexis. Motions, answers, discovery, and the attorneys have to do that. So I have a clerk queue every morning. We have to look it up and determine, is this acceptable? Do I accept it as a clerk? Do I reject it? What do we need to do here? So every morning, one of my staff has to sit down and review all the paperwork. I'm leaning, I'm sorry. So that's what we do.
I guess I could just tell everybody Matt's password out loud. He wouldn't mind.
It's pretty boy.
So they sit down and review all the filings from the day before and determine if they're accepted or rejected. And that. Now the attorneys on the other side that's filing all of this stuff, since this is through LexisNexis, everything they file, they have to pay a fee to file it. That's going to be different with our e-filing. But what happens when they pay to file it and you reject it? Think of those phone calls you get. And they're not happy because we've rejected a filing. And all they see is, I have to pay to file that again? Well, you made this mistake, this mistake, this mistake. I can't accept that for filing. You know, there's certain guidelines and rules for mass litigation that you have to follow to the T. If you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't do the other, guess what? It does not get accepted for filing. So now, are the plaintiffs getting charged double for some of the paperwork because the attorneys are not putting it in correctly? You know, somebody has to pay those costs. So that's huge. And now you've got 50 attorneys involved with this case. Does that mean 50 attorneys is going to be calling your office asking questions? Was this filed? What about this? What about that? It's more attorneys to deal with, more paralegals to deal with, different things like that to increase the information flow going out of our offices. You don't even think about that. So my judges at least assign the liaison counsel for each party. So when there's questions, the attorneys on the plaintiff side should call the plaintiff liaison. Attorneys on the defense side should call the defense liaison to ask their questions to their own people. And that, so you get then, supposedly, would be nice, only 2 people calling you. So this was all new to them. They've really adjusted. Kathy just had her 6-year anniversary of e-filing. I come on not long after that, and then Paul after that. So we've been doing this for 6 years now with e-filing on mass litigation. Huge, huge difference. See these numbers back here? This is just some of the numbers of filings. Look at these descriptions over here. Rejected. Look at those numbers. This is rejected. So they had to file them again, which means we've had to look at them twice.
Or 3 times.
Documents served. Look at those numbers. Pages served. They divided out and tried to keep track of approximate pages per document filed. And how much space savings does this give us? If you figure about 2,000 pages per box in a banker's box, that's over 1,000 boxes of paperwork we don't have in the last 6 years, just for mass litigation cases. What are we supposed to do with 1,000 boxes? So this, I think, Kathy will agree and Paul will agree, has saved us tons of time, of space, of telephone calls. Those numbers are staggering numbers if you actually look down the side and see what everything is. Only on mass litigation cases. Now, they keep adding mass litigation cases and expanding. They're adding more judges. You have judges retired. Judge Rectus, who started my tobacco case in 2000, he's a senior status judge now. Guess what? He's keeping the tobacco, thank God. Could you see somebody coming in 14 years later, another judge, trying to get up to speed? And what about those first 5 years of boxes that they'd have to review if they really wanted to look at them? What did I do with those? Right, where are they? What space didn't I have that I shoved them into? Now this isn't your normal everyday stuff. You're still working every day and doing your jobs with every other piece of paper that walks in the door. This is in addition to. So you look at those numbers, the only way we can do this right now is through e-filing. There is no other way possible. With those numbers and the number of mass litigation cases we currently have, that we could do everything manually anymore. So it makes a huge, huge difference. So when your judge volunteers to be a judge on a panel, don't just think, oh, that's such an honor for him or her. You best be thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to be getting a ton of boxes. What am I going to do? Now, this is this stage of it with filings. Anybody to the part yet where you're thinking, oh, they're having jury trials? Anybody there yet? I'm the only clerk in the state of West Virginia that first tobacco trial, it went third day of questioning. The attorney asked a question of something that was barred from being involved in the case.
Oh.
That was after we brought in 2,000 jurors from Ohio County to be selected to seat that panel. 3 days, and the attorney asked a question he shouldn't have. 3 days. So those 2,000 jurors, bye-bye. Mistrial. Okay.
What do they do with that attorney?
Let's put it this way, the second trial,
Yeah.
he didn't come back.
All right.
So, now, you've already used 2,000 of your jurors from your county.
We don't have to.
You've already had a mistrial.
That's 10% of our population.
You can't use those jurors again. You can't do it. And now, there's been so much publicity and press on this. Try to see the paper. Try. So Judge Recht and I sit down and he says, we're going to need a lot more jurors. Whole time I'm thinking, no shit. You can't say that. So, you say, yes we are, Your Honor. You know, where am I supposed to get them from? Because I don't have what you need at this point. You know, so what do you want me to do? He said, there's something new in the code that you can pull jurors from contiguous counties. So I started thinking, okay, touching counties. Here's Ohio County. I have the state of Ohio, the state of Pennsylvania. I'm down 2 already. Up here I have Brooke County. Down here I have Marshall County. So I only have 2 contiguous counties. And both of those counties at that time were doing everything manually. How am I going to get jurors from them? Well, Brenda, I need you to take care of that for me. I want 8,000 jurors pulled. 8,000 jurors pulled, Judge. Okay. How am I dividing this up? Now, when you get your juror questionnaires back, how many's good jurors? Like 1 in 4, 1 in 5? Maybe? How am I going to get 2,000 jurors for him? That means if you figure 1 in 4, I have to pull 8,000 jurors to seat this jury panel because that attorney asked the wrong question. But it's my duty to get a jury there. Okay. You know, Judge, this has never been done before of pulling jurors from contiguous counties. How am I supposed to do this? Are there instructions anywhere? No. Okay. I'll figure it out. So I go downstairs, call the clerks in Brooke and Marshall counties, say, I need 2,000 jurors from you. If you pull 2,000, Marshall County, if Brooke County pulls 2,000, I'll pull 4,000 from Ohio County. Okay. They don't know how to do 2,000 jurors. They weren't on a system that they could just go in and say, give me 2,000 jurors from the master poll. They didn't do it that way. So, now, to summon these jurors in, so that was the first stumbling block, besides getting my head wrapped around it without swearing to the judge. That was my next stumbling block, was how am I going to do this that we have 2,000 good, qualified jurors to send a 30-page questionnaire to, just to even see if they're qualified to come in and serve on jury duty. How much do they know? Have their family members been, you know, sick from tobacco industry? Has a relative died from lung cancer? What about COPD? I probably know more information about tobacco than anyone ever needs to know in their lifetime. So, we pull the jury. Now, I'm an Ohio County clerk. I can't summon Brooke County jurors, can I? What about Marshall County? I can't summon those. I'm not their clerks. So, I have to work with the clerks of the other counties. Have them pull somehow and give me 2,000 names and addresses and barcodes. That's where we got in trouble, barcodes. Because guess what? Just like the case